Look who came to join us, Richard Jefferson. We just played some clips, RJ, of your conversation with LeBron James, with Channing Frye and Allie Clifton. And one of the things that caught a lot of people's attention was him calling the 2016 title and the 2020 title the toughest ever in NBA history. Now, I will certainly give him that 2016 title because he had to play with you. So that automatically just, right? I mean, that's inarguable now. And, of course, coming back from 3-1 for the first time in finals history and a two-time MVP. But the fact that you were in that's off the table. But this 2021, too, with the bubble, we've heard, Richard, you and I have had people say to us, what do you mean the bubble was hard? Come on, millionaires staying in a luxury hotel, blah, blah, blah. What did you make when he said that to you?
Well, I believed him because, Rachel, you and I were there. We saw there was no home court. There was no our home crowd is going to pick us up. There were no fans there to have that excitement. So everything that you had to muster, it was internally. It was how much did you have inside of you to go out there with no friends, no very limited family members that couldn't cheer. There was nothing there for you to build off on other than just what you can go and accomplish. And also I was reminded by our producer that they won a championship in a shortened year, in a lockout year. So if you had to break down coming back from 3-1, playing in a bubble and winning via a lockout where you don't have as much time to prepare, your bodies can decondition. Show me some lies. If there's another example of a tougher championship from a unique space, I haven't seen it.
What do you think, Perk?
Well, look, Richard, listen, I think LeBron didn't tell no lies, but a glass of wine and RJ gets all the tea from LeBron James, and you got to love it. When you look at what he did in 2016, Rachel, you're right. That's one of the greatest championships in NBA history and in sports history, in my opinion. And when you talk about what he did down in the bubble, we saw all the guys jokingly talk about how when they left the bubble, they just finished doing the bid and how mentally tough it was and how they was happy to be home and went on vacation to their favorite restaurants. And you had to be mentally tough. So I see no lies that LeBron James has said when he said this is two of the toughest championships in NBA history, and he was part of it, and it's real.
Well, I like approaching the greatest of all time conversation from this perspective, only in that the three of us have talked about this plenty, right? People are great in different ways in different eras. It's just a fact. And you can go back to Wilt and Kareem, and everyone has such recency bias. But there were a lot of guys who played in this league who have been exceptional. And LeBron emphasizing the ways he has been exceptional, I think is the right way to talk about him versus Michael Jordan or anything else that you'd want to compare. I also want to circle back with you, though, Richard, about his reaction to Kyrie saying that KD is the first teammate that he's ever had, that he can be trusted to close out big games. LeBron said he was hurt by Kyrie's comments. Were you surprised when you heard that on the pod?
No, because everybody that knows him, and one of the big criticisms of him is sometimes his body language, or sometimes he gets too emotional in certain moments. We see it when he's frustrated, it's all over his face. So we know him to be an emotional player. And that's something that he constantly talks about having to work on, his body language and his emotion. So when he says that, I think that was probably the most accurate way. Like Perk and I and all of us get on here and we start doing all of our talking back and forth. And what is he saying? But from a player to player space, he said it. He goes, that kind of hurt me a little bit. It was like, during the finals, sitting down with Kevin Durant, and that's fine. But it's just like, that just, you can lift somebody up without tearing somebody down. And I don't think Kyrie's intentions were to tear him down. And my intentions on asking this question wasn't to cause any rift or drama. I just want to know, when you heard this and you heard all of the stuff that was being said, and then you listened to the content, what was your emotion? And I think that really humanized it. To be like, it doesn't matter that I'm on my way to trying to win another championship, or I've accomplished X amount. To hear a brother, a former teammate, somebody that I wanted nothing but positive things for, to kind of shoot that shot, it hurt him. And I think that's the best way for him to describe it. And I think that's the most accurate way from a player to player to describe it. There was no, oh, that's BS. He didn't attack Kyrie. He just said, look, we didn't align, and hearing that statement hurt a little bit.
And Perk, what about for you?
Well, look, I said this when the podcast first came out, when Kyrie made this comment. I said that Kyrie Irving is a bona fide hater. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason being is the timing of the podcast. And look, they were sitting back at home, him and old Kevin Durant, watching LeBron James on the verge of winning his 4th title, and they couldn't stomach it. That's just the honest truth, and they were sitting back, and they was just trying to figure out a way to rub him the wrong way. To me, I was on the team when they first got assembled, when I was playing in Cleveland, I think in 2015,
Yep.
and LeBron didn't do nothing but try to take Kyrie under his wing and show him the ropes, Rachel, and I was there, so no one could tell me that it was anything different. So, it's just sad to see it. And if I'm LeBron James, I'm hurt also. But I was just happy to see that LeBron took the high road, because he could have said so many more things on the podcast. But I'm glad he took the high road and was the bigger person.
Hey, one more thing, Rachel, and I'll say this. Those things being said when they said. Now, we remember Bron throwing that ball to Danny Green and him missing that shot. Let's say that Bron were to take a shot. Everybody and take a shot and miss a shot in a clutch moment in the finals. Everybody then would jump on the statement that Kyrie said. See, this is what Kyrie's talking about. See, this is what Kyrie's talking about. And again, I'm not saying that Kyrie was like, hey, I'm going to take a shot at Bron, but you still have to be aware of the things that you're saying and how they're going to be perceived. So like to have that be said during the finals when players are under the most pressure, to almost add a little bit of fuel to that pressure and saying, I've only played with one other guy that can knock down that shot while one of your former teammates is in the finals. You're inadvertently putting more pressure on him to knock down a shot, or else it's going to be used as criticism and your statement is going to be used as proof.
So I definitely agree with you, Richard, that the timing was an issue about probably why. And look, we heard it. LeBron say to you, like, the timing was part of what really messed him up about it and how he felt about what Kyrie said. And I agree also, by the way, if you are someone who gets paid all of this money, not just to play basketball, frankly, but to have a signature shoe and be in movies and market yourself, you have to have an understanding that you get paid all of that money because your words carry weight. So it means your words carry weight, and you have to then have responsibility for what you say and when you say it. I don't agree with you, though, Perk, that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving weren't sitting around during the finals being like, oh, LeBron's getting too much attention. How can we get some of that? You don't think that really happened, do you?
Well, Rachel, look, this is what I'm telling you. Just think of it, the timing, right? Just think of it. Both of those guys were not in the bubble. It's Kevin Durant podcast. And at that time, they decided to do a podcast with Kyrie and actually release that clip while LeBron was on the verge of doing something special and playing phenomenal basketball. I always say this, you know my saying, you can't tell me the sky is green and the grass is blue and expect me to believe it. I stand by what how I believe and how I feel, Rachel. That's how I feel.
All right. Well, I know what color the sky is. What about you, Richard?
Well, I don't think that, again, I don't think they were sitting around, but again, we're going to keep saying the timing of it is very, very difficult to justify. And look, those weren't the only controversial things that were said in that podcast. There was a lot of things that needed to be addressed. Right. And this was just one of them. And I'm glad that, Bron came on. And to your point, Perk, he didn't come out and kill him. He didn't come out and talk a bunch of trash. He said he was hurt. And he said that all he wanted was positive things for Kyrie. That's definitely taking the high road.
Absolutely. All right, guys. We'll put this behind us. There's a whole other drama we have to discuss.
Feeling, look, you take care of the people that took care of you. When I first got to the league, the first thing I did with my first check was I bought my grandmother and my grandfather a house and a car.
Wow.
A piece. So, take care of the people that took care of you. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Bam said that he has a photo of the single wide trailer where his mom raised him. They put that in the front foyer of the home that he just bought his mom to remind everyone, this is indeed where I came from and this is what she did for me. Pretty cool.
Love it.
Welcome to The Jump. I am Rachel Nichols here in our LA studio. Today I am joined by a full-sized Kendrick Perkins, and that is not a comment on how in shape you've been trying to get lately, Perk. I'm just saying the Christmas decorations are fantastic. We had to show you off in the big screen. Richard Jefferson is going to be joining us later in the show. Zach Lowe is going to be stopping by, as well as our Rockets insider, Tim McMahon, who will give us the latest from Houston on the status of James Harden, who has yet to report to training camp. So yeah, we'll talk about all that. Stick around. First, though, so a funny piece of video of LeBron James surfaced yesterday. Here it is, if you haven't seen it. LeBron on the 405 freeway here in Los Angeles, convertible top down. He shows off the acceleration on a limited edition Porsche Spyder. There's a joke in there somewhere about sports cars and men approaching 40. Although, honestly, there's been a lot of news surrounding LeBron in the past few days. And while it does paint a picture of where LeBron is in his life right now, it's actually decidedly not a picture of someone hitting a midlife crisis. Instead, it's obvious that LeBron is one of those athletes who, as he reaches the back half of his 30s, has gotten more clarity on who he wants to be, what he wants to do. After changing teams 3 times in 8 years, he is now decisively settled in Los Angeles, a partnership he cemented with a contract extension last week. It's a deal that does more than just tie him to this team and this place. It effectively lays out his succession plans. 1, from him to Anthony Davis, but also 2, from him to his son Bronny. As LeBron confirmed yesterday, he purposely lined that contract up with when Bronny will graduate high school and possibly be eligible for the NBA himself. There's also the clarity that LeBron has reached off the court. It was back in Miami that LeBron started to develop into an activist, dipping his toe into this cause or that. But now that side of himself is fully formed as he's created entire organizations for causes he believed in. His school in Akron, Ohio, the More Than the Vote campaign that he started just this summer. Something that yesterday earned him a record 3rd nod as Sports Illustrated Sportsperson of the Year. But most of all, what you notice with LeBron right now is his overall ability to see the big picture. Last night, the Road Trippin' podcast that is co-hosted by our friend Richard Jefferson here released a conversation with LeBron that included a section about Kyrie Irving and Kyrie's declaration that Kevin Durant is the first teammate he can trust as much as himself to make a clutch shot at the end of a game. Here's what LeBron had to say about all that.
I was a little like damn.
Yeah.
Once I got the whole transcript, I was like, damn. You know, I wasn't like, oh, you tripping. I've hit game-winning shots my whole life. I was not like that. I was like, damn, because you were there for a couple seasons. I mean, I played with Kyrie for 3 seasons. The whole time while I was there, I only wanted to see him be an MVP of our league. I only cared about his success. It kind of hurt me a little bit.
Notice that LeBron makes the distinction that he didn't say, oh, you're tripping, I've hit game-winning shots my whole life. He didn't treat any of it like an argument on the blacktop. Instead, he had a much deeper reaction about his relationship with Kyrie as a whole, the support he felt he gave Kyrie through their time together, and the way he's seen Kyrie rebel against that in the time since. LeBron showed the same sort of perspective when the conversation turned to who the best player of all time is. LeBron didn't take shots at anyone else. Instead, he said this.
You know, the conversation is going to always be had, and it's great for debates because they want to compare errors, they want to compare players and who they've seen. The one thing that I know for sure, that I've been a part of 2 teams that's won the 2 hardest championships in NBA league history. The 2016 Cavs coming back from 3-1 versus 73-9 team, being down 3-1 versus one of the best teams that ever been assembled.
2-time MVP.
2-time MVP. And then what we went through in the bubble. And if you were not in a bubble, you don't quite understand it. You will never, ever understand how hard it was to win that championship, to be able to motivate yourself, to be this is literally out of your whole comfort zone. You can debate who's the greatest of all time individually, things of that nature and what they've done. But as far as the teams, that's one of the 2 hardest championships in league history. I've been a part of that.
You can agree or not with LeBron's take here. As someone who was in the bubble, I can certainly vouch it presented mental challenges I'd never seen before in my 20-plus years covering this sport. But regardless of where you come down on the specifics, it's impossible not to notice the assurance that LeBron has now when he's talking about all of this. He's not hiding from the GOAT conversation or anything else. He's not searching the way he sometimes was earlier in his career. That Porsche convertible, it's not a midlife crisis. It's a joyride for LeBron, who is entering this season with the clarity that can only come from having been around the block. All right, guys. LeBron's comments about whether we should be calling his 2016 or 2020 titles the toughest ever in NBA history, that prompted a lot of discussion. So stick around, find out what our guys think about it here. First, though, it's time for